Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing all right. Cyberpunk Lost Woods. The next link after Breath of the Wild. Confusing subway system. All right. So, got a couple things today. Oh, that's the wrong window. We're in here. This window over here. There we go. We're going to move on to classes, inheritance, interfaces, and object-oriented programming. We're not going to hit all the chapters today, or even Thursday. So we'll probably get 7 and 8-ish or so this week, and then 9 and 10-ish or so the next week. And then we also want to talk about unit testing as well, which is a fantastic topic. And I might actually move that up a little bit. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So, and then we want to talk about the lab assignment. So we've got a couple things to tackle. So hopefully things are going well for Project Zero for you. Again, please do start those early. If you have questions about them, happy to help answer those questions and get you pointed in the right direction. But it's due on a Tuesday. Please don't wait until January 31st to ask me questions. Okay? I have limited time on the 31st to answer questions. So please, do do those things early. All right, let me fire up NetBeans. I should just like have NetBeans start when my computer starts. The 31st, right? January? January has 31 days, doesn't it? Yeah, January 31st is the Monday, and then we have class February 1st, the Tuesday. No, well, we're just getting going here, Kaiser. Kaiser. Oh, you can wait until then. Yeah, I mean that puts you at a Sunday the 30th there. So that's a little bit iffy. Trying to get a response from me. Well, I'll do my best and I'll try on Sunday, but usually I'm tied up pretty often then. Hector, my friend, thank you so much for cheering those bits. Donating to the Student Scholarship Fund over the University of Michigan Dearborn College of Engineering and Computer Science, where I'm both a student and a lecturer. I think I got all that out in one breath. Look at that. I'm getting better at this sort of thing. So do check on my page. There's a history of payouts from Twitch and my donations to the Student Scholarship Fund. So I want to make sure I keep track of that. And happy to show any of you fine folks receipts if you're curious. Oh yeah. This is good coffee. We got the little coffee shop around the corner from me that had the misfortune of opening in December of 2019. It's still kicking, but she's having a bit of a hard time keeping a coffee shop running, and apparently her landlord won't change their rent, which seems ridiculous. Like you'd rather, I don't know. I guess I don't know much about business real estate, but you'd think you'd rather have a paying tenant than no paying tenant, but sure. But she sells the bulk coffee as well. It's really good stuff. This was just roasted, I think a week and a half ago or something. So it was really good. All right, let's talk about the lab first. So we were looking at our first lab assignment coming in here. This was finishing up tic-tac-toe, right? From our arrays and array lists review. Right? Lab 1. So lab 0 I wasn't really counting here, so I'll work on getting these ones scored. That was due at 10 a.m. Looks like we got a lot of people got that one in, which is good. If you didn't, don't sweat it. Again, the labs don't make up a ton of points here, but you do definitely want to try and keep up with them. That's going to help make sure you're practicing all this material that we keep talking about. All right, so let me go edit here. And I think we even had starter code, right? So if we go and take a look at arrays and array lists, starter code that pointed to that. I'm going to keep going with this. Let me close this one out. And I did have an who do I point to? Forget who pointed it out. I initialized row and column before the while loop instead of at the start of the while loop. So that was my bad because we needed it to be invalid on purpose so that this loop would run here. Again, this is just my approach to it. There's lots of different ways you could have gone around that, but this way we can use a little loop here and say, okay, give me valid numbers, right? And as long as they're invalid, this loop will keep running. So if they start invalid, the loop will run once. You also could have done a do while loop, but I hate do while loops, so I try my hardest not to use those. I'm sorry, my little artificial pancreas thing here is angry at me. It ran out of insulin overnight, so I gotta refill that here in a minute. So again, if we start them invalid, we know the while loop will run at least one time because while loops aren't guaranteed to run, right? So we were just going to go out in here and fill in all of these to-dos, right? A couple different to-dos here. Yeah, I mean, there's some people, for sure. Depends on your situation. There's nothing wrong with the do loop. I just hate them. And literally it's because of a single semicolon. So that's it's probably my hang up. It irritates me. So I try and avoid them, right? So to make this a do while loop, right? We would say do and then while, and then you add a semicolon. We lost another parenthesis. And literally that's the entire reason why I hate this, because there's a semicolon here after this while. It all goes back to when I was learning how to program years and years and years and years and years ago. I was having an issue with a while loop, not a do loop, but a while loop, in that it just kept on running over and over, and it was an infinite loop. And I couldn't tell why it was doing what it was supposed to be doing. And it turns out I had put a semicolon after the while loop. And if you put a semicolon after the while loop, your while loop says, oh, sure, you want nothing to happen infinitely. Because just a semicolon tells Java, okay, that's your statement, that's done. It didn't even get to the curly braces, and it was just stuck here as an infinite loop. And I cursed the do loop for making me think that there should be a semicolon after a while loop at that point, because I was confused. So, try not to do loops to this day. Dumb story, I know, but that's just what it is. All right, so we were just going to finish out all of our to-dos here, right? So in invalid row and column, right? So we needed to check to see if the row and column are between 0 and 2, right? And the location is not empty. So a real common thing that I see from people, and that's okay, but it's redundant, and you want to be a good programmer, and you want to be lazy, in that you don't need to do more work than you need to. So we're going to say, we'll look at the first way. We'll say, hey, if row is less than 0, or row is greater than 2, or column is less than 0, or column is greater than 2, or my board at row, let me bump this down one, my board at row, at column. I really can't stop that from beeping. I hope that's not too terrible there. Maybe I can like put it over here, underneath my hat. Yeah, I mean, do loops are fine, but that's what it is. So, or the board row at column does not equal empty. So this is invalid here, right? So if it's less than 0 or more than 2, less than 0 or more than 2, or if it's not empty, this is all invalid. And people here will say, return true, else return false. And at this point, you're redundant, because it's even telling you here, this statement is redundant. This already is a true or false statement right here. So all we need to do is say, return that. There needs to be no other if, else, and, or buts. We just return a Boolean expression. This already is true or false, right? If it's invalid, we're going to return true. If none of these are true, right, if all of these things are false, because we're ORing them together here, then we return false, which means it is not invalid. I know the wording there's a little bit funny here, but that's all we need to do. Okay? Now, a tie game. We return if all the spaces are full or none are empty. So this one is a little bit, depends on how you want to do it here. But I'm a fan of a quick little loop here. So we're going to say for, now you can do different loops. So I'm going to use the enhanced for loop here because read only is okay. We're not changing anything here. So I'm going to say for character array row in the board. And then I'm going to say for, now this is really, space or char. It's really the space. It's not the column. You could call it column, but I don't know if that's appropriate. Maybe it is. In row, if, and then in here we're going to say if the space equals empty, right, or just an empty space, we're going to return false. If we find a space, right, if there's an empty one, we are not a tie game. If we've gone through all of that loop and we haven't found one yet, we can return true. We must be a tie game because the board is full. Okay? That would make sense? So as soon as we find an empty space, we can't be a tie game because someone else can play. All right, we'll see if a player wins vertically. So we have to check each column and see if all three are not empty and match. Okay, so again, there's the we could do it in a single if, but I think a loop is going to be easier here. And we're going to say if we haven't found a winner, no one must have won. So we're going to say for, and now if we're checking vertically, we want column, or so column index is 0. My column index is less than 3. My column index plus plus. And again, I know a lot of people use I here, a lot of people use C or col or whatever you want here. You know, that's fine. I like being very specific about what I'm looking for here, because it doesn't hurt to write long variable names, because you don't even have to write them yourself. They type themselves. All right, so for each column then, we're going to say if the board at, now we need to look at each row here as well, right? Right? So looking at each row is going to be row 0, row 1, and row 2. So if board at row 0, column index does not equal empty, right? And they all match. So this one gets a little long here, but it's okay. So if board at column equals board at row 1, column index, so it's not empty, and it matches, right? And it matches. We can return true. We give it a little format. It'll line it up kind of nice here. So we're saying, hey, if for every column, 0 column, 1 column, 2 column, if the first row is not empty, and the first row matches the second row, and the first row matches the third row, then return true. Somebody won vertically. Again, we're not trying to tell you if it was X's or O's. We don't care. We can figure that part out later. We're just going to say, yes, somebody won. If we've checked every column and no one has won, it must be a false. Right, same idea here. So we're going to do basically this exact same loop here, but now we're going to do row index. And I'm just going to swap out row index. But now these are row indexes, and then the columns 0, 1, and 2. Right? Column 0, row index, column 0, excuse me, matches column index 1, and matches column index 2. Right? So we're saying, okay, for each row then, check that row, column 0 is not empty. That row, column 0 matches column 1, and that row, column 0 matches column 2. If we find one that matches, it's true, otherwise return false. Now, the diagonalies, you could do a loop, but it's not so bad, because really there's only 3 things to check. So this is diagonally up. So we're just going to, again, take the easy route here. We're going to return board at, now, the diagonally up, right, is the bottom corner. So that's row 2, column 0, does not equal empty, and it starts matching the other ones. Equals, so then 1, 1 is the center, right? And it has to match the other corner. So that's 0, 2, row 0, column 2. So it's not empty, and it matches the middle, and it matches the other corner. And that is already true or false. We can just return that. Right, we're going to do the exact same thing for diagonal down, but now it's the other direction. So now it is 0, 0 is the top, right? 0, 0 matches the middle, and 0, 0 matches row 2, column 0. Is that right? Row 2, column 2, row 2, 2. Yeah, so 0, 0, 1, 1, 2, 2. Right, that's for the diagonally down. And that's it, right? That's just kind of navigating my 2-dimensional array. And now tic-tac-toe should work. Let's try it. Let's see. Who wants to play tic-tac-toe with me? You guys can shout out the moves. We'll try it. Or we can have one of you volunteer to be X's, one of you volunteer to be O's, if you'd like to do that as well. We'll see if you can beat each other. Oh no, I got an error. What's my error? What's my error? Do I have a red? I do have a red. What's the red line here? What's the red line? Oh, board. Well, that was funny. Player wins diagonally down with the board. Try that again. All right, enter the name of your friend or stop. All right, we've got our board. We got X's turn. Who wants to be X? And who wants to be O? Anybody who wanted to help me test this? I can't talk. I've not had enough coffee. That was, even for a Michigander, that was a little bit slurred for words. Anybody want to help me test this? Here we go. Gotta pronounce all those vowels, all the T's. Okay, Mike is O's. All right, who's gonna play against Mike? I'll throw out a bonus point to the winner for you. Just send me a message after. You can have a bonus point if you can win. If it's a cat's game, then you didn't win. So, but if you can beat Mike, I'll get you a bonus point. Like if you beat the other person too, you can have a bonus point. That's only fair, right? I don't know. My youngest daughter will still play tic-tac-toe with me, but all of the other kids refuse because they know you can't be beat. Like, if you know how to play tic-tac-toe, you can never lose, and they think that's boring now. So, and of course, I don't let my kids beat me at things. Okay, Mr. Pup, you're X. Where are you going to go? Sorry, Michelle. I think Mr. Pup called it first. We can do a rematch, maybe. We'll see. Maybe we can do a rematch. All right, Mr. Pup, your move. Pick a row. So, Mike, be thinking about your next move. All right, Mr. Pup, take it away. Row and column, please. Zero, one. All right. O's turn. Oh, I forgot to print the board. Hang on. My bad. Let's go print that board again. We got to call print board after every move. So let me actually move this one down inside the loop. While the game is not over, let's print it. Okay. Sorry. My bad. All right. 0, 1, Mr. Pup. Stop. All right. 0 and 1. Okay, and Mike counters with 1 and 1, and Mr. Pup counters with 1 and 2. Oh, I'm so sorry for the delay. Yeah, it's usually just a little couple seconds here and there. All right, Mike, you're up for the counter here. Oh, 2-2, okay. That's not where I was thinking you'd go, but 2-2 is good. 2-2 works. Mr. Pup, I think I know where you're going. Somebody has to get the points. Oh, I see. Yeah, you gonna throw the game here? 2-0. Okay, that's not where I was expecting. You guys are changing things up on me here. All right, Mike. So your points for the taking. Row and then column. 0, 0. Game over. I printed an empty board. Why did I print an empty board? Oh, my print board on board 2 here. That's right. We were printing the array list board. So the game was over, so we should have said something like game over. And probably one more print board, right? For the road. GG. All right, Mike, send me a message later, and I will get you your bonus point. I was very kind to Mr. Pup. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, so you're just trying to do it in your head. Oh, 40-second delay. I'm so sorry. That's crazy. I've never seen it that bad before. Okay, so if you refresh the page, it might try and resync it here. I don't actually know what Triple T is, Mike, but I've heard of Apex. It's supposed to be pretty good. I've seen some people play it. But Alrighty. So that was the lab. I'm going to move on to new stuff, or really reviews. Oh, tic-tac-toe. There you go, competitive tic-tac-toe. Oh, doing do loops? That's fine. I don't talk much about do loops. I talk more about Bruno than I do talk about do loops in class, to be honest. When I teach 1500, like the intro to programming class, Bruno definitely gets more coverage than do loops because I despise do loops for wasting my time as an undergrad. I can hold a long grudge, apparently. All right, so that one's done. So we go commit all that to GitHub here. So generally, I'll try and go over the labs like that after they're due. So they should be a pretty quick review. And if it takes me too long to solve them, then I know I gave you too much for lab. It's a quick little sanity check there. All right, so this is 2151 for winter. All right, so here is lab 1, tic-tac-toe. And we feel pretty good that it worked. Again, we haven't tested all of the edge cases and all the scenarios, and we should go do that, right? If you write code, you want to test it and make sure it works. So don't trust that just because we had a diagonal win, everything is fine. We should try up diagonal, we should try the down diagonal, we should try vertical. I don't think we need to test a vertical in each and every column because it's the same code. I think one vertical would make us feel like it should work. One horizontal should probably make us feel like it works. Again, right? Because it's just the loop. So we just want one of these times to eventually return a true here. And we know we've won to kind of test this out for us. Okay? And we just kind of break this down into small little pieces. All right, so let's start up a new project here. Do Java with Ant, Java application. Put this in 2151, winter 2022. So this is in my repository for all the example code. This is good. This will be classes part 1 here. And again, we'll spend a lot of time here the next 2-3 weeks in these chapters here looking at some object-oriented fundamentals. So we're going to camp out here for a while. This is the meat of where we're really focusing. Turns out the name of the course is Object-Oriented Program. Is it really not programming? Is it really program? I got to look it up in the catalog now, because that is going to drive me nuts. 2151. Okay, good. It was just too long for that to fit. Okay, good. So the name of our course is correct. Apparently it's just too long for D2L, or I don't know how that even happened in here. Can I change that? I don't even know if I can change that somewhere. That's like all system generated, but okay, good. We got the right name there. So that's the meat of the class, is object-oriented programming. And that's what we're getting at in these couple chapters. Some of these fundamentals of object-oriented programming. Okay, so the first fundamental is really this idea of encapsulation. And hopefully you've had a chance to hear about encapsulation before. It's this idea that I want to take all of the details and I want to encapsulate them in one nice little bucket. I don't know, one nice little class, right? One definition, one bit of code here. And we like object-oriented programming. You don't actually need to do object-oriented programming to solve problems. But we like object-oriented programming in the industry because it very closely mirrors how us people interact with the world. Right? You folks are very familiar with the idea of a can. Right? You understand a can is kind of a noun, a generic noun, and there's lots of different kinds of cans. Right? Cans have different properties, so each individual can will have its own set of attributes. Right? The thing about this can. So this can has a color, this can has a size, this can has the number of milliliters of liquid actually inside of it. And as I drink from this can, that changes, right? So I could have some cans that are empty, some cans that are full, right? The cans are different sizes. These are the skinny kind of LaCroix or Perrier cans, right? They're different sizes. It like fits inside of this other one, basically. I don't know. It's hard to show. So this one is 250 milliliters. Can I get that to show? I don't know if it'll actually show. 250 milliliters. There you go. And LaCroix here is 355 milliliters. I'm sure you can see that somewhere on that blurry screen. Oh, it's shiny too. 355, kind of in there, okay. And so what the class lets us do is take all of those definitions, right, and encode it. So all of the things that I care about, I'm going to put as attributes in my class, and they're going to be kind of encapsulated in one nice little package here. So I'm going to make a new Java class here. Remember, name of the class has to match the name of the file, right? So that happens automatically for us. So this is classes part 1, classes part 1.java. So for us, we just want this to be, we'll just call it can. Capital letter for classes, great. And now we have public class can. Now there is no main method in can. Can is not a runnable class. Can is just the definition of my object, right? So anything about can, any attributes, any ways we can describe a can become private instance attributes. So we'll say private string for color. We'll have a private int for, we'll say volume. And this is probably like the max volume. And anytime you're dealing with something with a unit, you should always include the units in your name. So if I say volume of the can, some of you folks will probably think ounces because we use the terrible system, imperial system here in America. Some of you who are more enlightened will probably think milliliters because the metric system is way superior to the imperial system. So we're going to say, hey, this is max volume in milliliters. Now, I know that looks like it's a lot to type, but remember, the variables type themselves. So we're going to name every attribute that has to deal with volume. We'll say it's specifically in milliliters. And you probably don't want to do ml here because some people might be confused and not remember what ml means. Right? So don't use abbreviations if you can help it. We'll have an int for, how about a current volume in milliliters. Right? So your can have a max volume of 250, but if it's empty, oh, nope, it was not very empty. That was fun. At least I didn't know it over the keyboard. No, volume of liquid in here was not 0 milliliters, but it's pretty close to 0 now. Now that it's on my pants. There we go. So that's our current volume. We'll have the color. Other attributes about it here. Maybe the string for beverage name or something, or color. How about name? I don't know. Whatever we want to call it here. Name of beverage. I'll just call it name. Why not? I don't know. Sure. Name of liquid inside the can. That seems silly. Name. So this is fine. So all of these are private instance attributes. We're going to take all of the details. We're going to encapsulate them into one nice package here. And then going hand in hand with encapsulation is abstraction. This idea that we want people to deal with can in an abstract manner. People don't need to know what my code does behind the scenes. They just need to know, hey, there's a public method that does something. So think about all the times we used this class called scanner. Right? We've used scanner up, down, left, and right everywhere to get input. We know if we type keyboard.nextLine, we get a string back. Do you know how it works? No. I mean, we could go look it up if we cared because Java is open source, but we don't care what scanner does. What we care about, or we don't care about how it does it. We care about it does what it says. If we ask for next line, it gets the line that was typed in at the console. We're working with this in an abstract manner. We're interacting with its application programming interface, its API. So public methods are accessible and do what they advertise they do. Okay? So a lot of times what we're going to do is we're going to have get methods and set methods. So a get method gets you a value that's a private attribute. Right? Because these aren't public. You don't have public access to them. So if you want to see what the color of the can is, you need a get method for it. If you want to know what the name is of this can, you need to call the getName method. Because we're not giving you direct access to these. So we're hiding these, we're encapsulating them, and we're going to give you the abstract public interface to use to interact with can. Now, again, these are a little bit long here, but NetBeans and any good IDE here is really good at making you more efficient, helping you be lazy. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say insert code. And insert code has an option for getter and setter. Now, most of these I don't actually want to be set, right? Once you've set the max volume in milliliters for a can, like when you make the instance, there's really no way I can make this more than 250 milliliters, have a max volume of that. It just doesn't work. So you need to think about what's appropriate for your object. So not all classes need set methods here, but generally we have getters for everything. So I'm going to check the box and check all these for getters here, and we're going to generate a bunch of get methods. So we can get color, we can get max volume, we can get current volume, we can get name, right? And these are public methods here. We've given people access to go get these values. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for these in the constructor. Or the constructor is that special method that makes an instance of an object. Now, I apologize if this is too fast or too slow. I don't know when everyone had 1500 or their very first programming class, so we're going to spend a little bit of time doing that review, level setting it for everybody who might not be coming right out of 1500. And we can write a constructor ourselves. We can say, hey, public can. Remember, what makes a constructor different is there is no return type. It matches the name of the class. So most of our other methods here are going to have lowercase letters. But because we match the name of the class, it's uppercase. The constructor's job is to give the instance attributes values. That's all of these things. That's the constructor's job. It's to set the class up so it's ready to be used. This is how we make one of these classes. If we don't, the defaults for things can really go and bite you. So anything that's a reference type or anything that's an object is going to be null. And null variables generally cause all sorts of issues, like null pointer exceptions, and your program crashes. All right, cool. Yeah, I'm glad everyone should have had it because it's a prereq, but I don't know when people had it, so we'll kind of go maybe a little slower than if you've come fresh out of it would like, but we'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get to the good stuff. So if our constructor's job is to give values to these things, I should say color equals, well, I don't know what it is, but an empty string is not null. Empty is better than null, because null is going to make your program crash most likely here. Okay. Now, again, this is probably the harder way to go about doing this, right? We want to do the easy way. Okay. So I'm going to right click and say insert code, and I want to insert a constructor. The constructor says what fields should be initialized. So I want you to tell me all of these things here. I can take current, I could take name, so current is debatable. If you want, you could just set current to max, or you could set current to 0, or you could just let them tell you how much is inside of them when you make the can. So any of these are fine. So I'm just going to check them all. It says, okay, this constructor now takes arguments. You need to give it a string for color, you need to give it an int for max, an int for current volume, and you need to give it, sorry, it's a little bit long there, a string for name. I'll bump that one down. If you tell me those things as arguments, I'm going to set my values to the values you gave me. So once you make a can, you are not allowed to change the color, which is generally probably how a lot this object works. I mean, I could paint a can if I really cared to. So technically, I could probably change the color. Do people ever change the color of their cans of sparkling water or pop or beer or, I don't know, whatever other things come in cans? No, usually we don't. So for our class, it doesn't make sense to write a method to change the color because we're just not going to let you. Once you give me the max volume, again, it's not changeable. There's no set method here. Now the current volume should change, but I don't want to give someone access to just say, here, set the new current volume. That's not really how we interact with cans. And then the beverage that's inside of it, most people don't refill their cans. So again, it probably doesn't make sense to change this. So once we say, hey, sparkling lime water, then sparkling lime water will stick as the name. Because I don't think you're supposed to reuse cans either. I did one time as a kid when I went camping with my Boy Scout troop, and I think it made me really sick because it's something about the aluminum inside. I don't remember. I was putting in our nasty Kool-Aid mix that was definitely undersugared. Or I mean, at least it seemed like it was undersugared, and I would drink that all weekend long, and I was so sick. I was miserable. I blame not bringing a real cup. All right, so we set all those attributes here in the can constructor. So if you want someone to be able to create an instance of can and not provide these arguments, then we need to give them another constructor. It's totally up to you. Whatever makes sense for your class. So what we can do here then, I can say, hey, can, this is going to be lime Perrier equals a new can, and I have to give it all of those attributes. I have to give it the color, so this is a color green. The max volume is 250. It's currently empty. Maybe there's like 1 milliliter in there, and it is sparkling lime water. Right? We have to give it all of those attributes because that's what the can constructor wanted. Now, it should have, and I'm sad it didn't. Let's try. No, I don't want to undo all that. Let me do a can of, this is LaCroix, Pamplemousse, LaCroix. LaCroix equals a new can. And it should have given me, why is it not giving me that? Can. It's hard to see. Way down here it says required string, there it goes. Required string, int string, found no arguments. So generally it gives you that type ahead, and it's not, and I'm sad, like to tell me what I need to be putting in here. But that's okay. That's all right. So now I have a can, and then my can instance here, now I can say dot, and I can get color, get current volume, get max volume, get name, and these other things that look kind of funny that we didn't write, we'll talk more about later. So I can get all the values back out here. Sure, we can do that. Now, the way that we should be changing the current volume in milliliters is you generally drink from cans, right? So we're going to add a public, and then what do we want to return here? I'm going to return actually a Boolean here. I'm going to call this drink, and if you give me an int milliliters to drink, we'll try and drink that many milliliters. So I want this to be a Boolean because I'm going to return a true or false whether or not it actually works here. So we'll say if the milliliters to drink is less than 0, or the milliliters to drink is greater than the current volume, I'm going to just return false. You can't do that. Right? So if you say, hey, I want to drink 50 milliliters, and I've got a can with like 1 left, I'm going to tell you false. You can't do that. If you try and give me a negative number here, I'm also going to tell you can't do that because, okay, technically you can spit into a can. Let's pretend that's not allowed because you should not do that sort of thing here, okay? You don't want to increase the volume of your liquid. Okay, that's a dark road. Otherwise, so if it is a valid number here, so this is checking if it is a valid argument here, right? We'll return false. Otherwise, I'm going to take my current volume in milliliters and I'm going to subtract from it how many milliliters you said you wanted to drink. And I'll return true. Okay? Nope. Return true, please. True. We'll say, oh, sure. Okay. You want to drink some? Well, you want to drink 10 milliliters? Great. Have a 10 milliliter sip if you've got at least 10 milliliters to drink. And then we'll subtract that from our current volume. So this is how we would interact with the can. So now I can say lime Perrier dot drink, and I can say, hey, let's drink 10 milliliters. And really, that's going to be a Boolean for a result here. And so on this side of things, I could check if the result, and result is already a Boolean, so don't say if result equals true. That's redundant, right? It already is true or false. Okay, do that sort of thing. So let's make this with 250, and then how about we say, let's do Boolean result equals true. And while result, let's ask you how much you want to drink from the can. So scanner keyboard equals a new scanner, given system.in. We'll add our import for scanner. Thank you, NetBeans. And then we'll say how much do you want to drink? How many milliliters do you want to drink of your, and then let's add in here lime Perrier.getName, right? And then we'll get int for milliliters to drink. Is going to be an integer parseInt of the keyboard.nextLine. We'll get your input, we'll convert it here. and then we'll call result. We'll reset result to be your lime Perrier dot drink the milliliters to drink. We'll go drink from it. Okay, so we just can keep on drinking from it until either we run out or we tell it too much, or I mean, we got lots of options here. Right? We could then go check result again and then keep asking here, or this is just a quick little loop, and it should. So it starts off full, and we should be able to drink. Oh my goodness, the plugin was fine earlier. This NB Java C plugin is awful. I started experimenting with a different IDE. I'm talking to Dr. Baugh about seeing if we should change over or not. So I got to show him it and see if he agrees. Okay, so how many milliliters do you want to drink of your sparkling lime water? Let's do like 50 milliliters. Okay, we're still good. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Okay, it should have 100 left. Right, 100 should be okay. No, maybe it wasn't. Oh, no, that was too much, sorry. This was, my goodness. That was 150. That was 200. It only had 50 left. I can't do math in my head. It's too early in the morning. Definitely needs more coffee. Definitely needs more coffee. But that's just a basic class here, right? That's what it is. That's our basic class. Okay, so we've encapsulated all of the attributes of can. We have given you the abstract public interface to interact with, right? The public methods are API through abstraction. You don't need to know the details. Again, this one's not very interesting, but we don't need to know the details exactly. I'll throw out that jittery emote. I love that one. That was so cool. I could animate that drinking the coffee one. Oh, I don't have that green hoodie. I don't know where I put my green hoodie, which is kind of a bummer. I gotta go find that one. The black one's actually my favorite, but the green's a pretty good one too. Usually I have the black chest bra hoodie, or the zip-up hoodie, and that one's awesome. But which I have yet to get them to sponsor the stream. But maybe I should keep asking, right? I'm sure the chess streamers want to sponsor a college coding stream. So it's our class, right? So we've done abstraction, we've done encapsulation. Those ones usually go hand in hand together. We're also going to talk about inheritance, and we're going to talk about polymorphism. So inheritance and polymorphism often go hand in hand. It's like when you talk about fundamentals of object-oriented programming, like if you just go Google that, fundamentals of object-oriented programming, let's see what we get here. Encapsulation, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, example. Look at that. I think we nailed it. And again, you go for all sorts of different things here. How about Stanford? Does Stanford agree with us? Is Stanford correct? Ooh, that's their website. Technology training. Is this like a different sort of thing here? I don't even know. Inheritance, polymorphism. Yeah. Look at that. Staff, faculty, students, hospitals and clinics, employees. I don't even know what this is. A Zoom lesson? Oh, fun. Look at that. Okay, anyway, we're just trying to see if we can find the right list of definitions here. So that's our classes, right? Again, this constructor's job is huge. You want a constructor. Technically, they're optional because Java will give you a default constructor. We'll talk more about that as we look at some more of the advanced topics. Generally, that default constructor is bad, and we don't want to use the default constructor or rely on the default constructor. So that's definitely not ideal for us that way. Okay. All right. I got to go get some more coffee here. My mug is almost empty. I've been calling my drink method here often, which is nice. I do miss, so when I was in class in the fall and we couldn't drink in class, it's really hard to talk for an hour or 2 hours or however long I was boring people without being able to drink a beverage. So I do like that here. And if we can ever get back to normal life, I will have coffee in the classroom and my office, and you folks are always welcome to stop by and pick up some coffee, because anytime I'm there, there'll probably be hot coffee. it's definitely a must. So I apologize you're missing out on some of that experience here with our remote learning. We're doing our best to get back to somewhat or approximately close to normal-ish what it would be like. So happy to meet with you folks, do some screen sharing sessions. And honestly, that's probably easier anyway for meeting, for like office hours and stuff, rather than you having to lug your computer into my office on campus. The virtual meetings just are typically more convenient for everybody, and then they can be at other times as well. It's not just during the day when I'm on campus. I can meet people at all times here. So just ask one of your friends who is on, or check out Discord, right? 1 in the morning today. So I'm trying to do a little bit of troubleshooting here in between playing Fortnite. So it's the flexibility is nice. I do miss seeing you folks, and I do like chatting about technology. Just general interesting stuff in tech is always fun to talk about, and that's some of the stuff we miss as well with this sort of environment. So any sort of like general tech questions or job search kind of questions, stuff like that's always fun to talk about. So we've got the channels in Discord. It gives us somewhat of an approximation for that. And always happy to chat with you folks during office hours. So why don't we take a couple minutes? How about just 5 minutes or so? Probably don't need a whole 10-minute break. And I'm going to refill my coffee cup, and then we'll come back. We'll talk a little bit more about classes, and then we'll talk about the next lab assignment here. So we're going to try really digging into each of the chapters as we go, and see how well that does for us, okay? So we'll try and take it at a decent pace, and then we'll do a lab on each one of those topics here as we go, and should be pretty good. So let me put some music back on, and we'll go from there. Okay, let me restart this one. I love this track. All right, put a break screen on. So 10 minutes, no, I'm sorry, 5 minutes puts us at, say, oh yeah, right about, let's just do 11 o'clock or so. I think that's maybe 6 minutes, okay? We'll come back at 11, folks. Hey folks, sorry about that. Having a bit of a rough go trying to change out my insulin here. Just, I forgot I had to do that. It's got these like really handy little cartridges, and the first one didn't work right. That was unfortunate. So this is not quite the elaborate system, but it's pretty handy overall because it's pretty nice. Crystal Method, yeah. I wish I could play their tracks. That brings me back to when I was younger. But apparently, playing copyright music is rough for was it the Millennial Digital Copyright Act or something, and then you get strikes on your channel, and it's this whole other nonsense thing. So I mean, it's not even nonsense, but artists should get paid for their work, yes. But the way that the people go about doing it is a little bit, I would say it's unfair, but, you know, that's okay. We got all sorts of issues with copyright, but streamers shouldn't make money off of other people's music. That's true. So I think that's fine, but I don't think anyone goes and watches Twitch recordings because someone played music they really want to listen to. So I feel like that's probably the wrong target that you're going after. I can see YouTube, yeah. Like some people will just post the songs on YouTube, like, and that's all they do, and then you're getting their, you know, their YouTube. But they can just like take their ad money for that. So yeah, there's got to be a good way to do it, and I don't know exactly what that way is. I don't know. I feel like services like Spotify, they do pay artists, but it's like a ridiculously low amount of how much they actually get, and how much of that is actually going to the artist versus how much is going just to the publisher and that sort of thing. So I don't know. It's a crazy industry. What was that? Someone was telling me this new Web 3.0 thing is supposed to fix all sorts of things like that, but I'm going to hold my breath because I don't know. Maybe I should believe in that sort of thing, but it feels like assuming that, you know, pay for interaction. Sorry, yep, there we go. All right. And artificial pancreas reactivated. Yeah, if the Web 3.0 thing takes off and everything's, you know, pay for every interaction here, then, you know, maybe we can go right to the artist's page and pay them, but, you know, I don't know. I'm a little cynical about it. We'll see. All right, so we're going to talk about our next lab here. So let me go and start up a new link for you here. We'll get this going. Sign in, make a new lab. 2151. Yeah, physical sales. Copyright law insanity, yeah. So this is CIS 2151, winter 2022. This will be lab 3. I mean, there's always like unintended consequences from certain things. So that's hard to know what's going to happen of those unintended consequences, because there's always something. You know, and I get it. It's difficult to make policies. So I don't know if there's a way to like pay the artist. I mean, even I don't know. It's like a penny every time someone plays their song. Is that fair? Because that adds up to like some of these popular songs that are played tens of thousands of times. You know, hundreds of thousands of times. I think a penny adds up here and there. But then how are they going to split that with the publisher, with the streaming service, or wherever they're getting it from? I don't even know. Yeah, I mean, you think a penny is a good deal? Because I wonder, like, the amount of songs that you play, like, if you listen to 20 songs a day, I guess you could listen to more than that. So if you're listening to music 24 hours a day, that would be expensive, right? Because you figure you'd get, what, each song is maybe 3 or 4 minutes, so you get, what, maybe 20 songs an hour, so it's 20 cents an hour. So for 5 hours, that's $1. And would you pay $1 a day to listen to 5 hours of music? Maybe, maybe not. I mean, if it's automatic, I don't know. Yeah, it's all sorts of a mess. So All right, so let's do lab 3. We're going to do a basic class here. Lab 3. As we do next week before class starts, 10 a.m. This will be, well, I think I've been doing all the labs as 10 points, so that ought to work. Lab 3 in labs. You're going to turn in the labs category, text submission, and submit the URL to your feedback pull request. So please do every one of these labs grab the new repository for me. It'll make life easier for me to check and see what's going on in each lab. I saw some people were just kept reusing lab 0. It'll work, but it's easier if you just make one repository per assignment here for me, because it'll keep everything separate and easier for me to track here. So we're going to write a class animal, and we're going to include private attributes for name, color, weight in kilograms, the noise that the animal makes. And that's probably pretty good for animal, right? We'll have methods, get methods for all the attributes. The attributes include a constructor that accepts arguments for all the attributes. Now, do any of these change? Like, any of these have a set probably here? I mean, like, they'll grow and their weight will change, so maybe it makes sense to have a set method here so that can change, but maybe it doesn't. So just get attributes for those. So how about we include add a method eat that accepts an argument for weight of food in kilograms, and then we're going to increase the animal's weight. We'll just say 10% of the total food weight. I know this is just totally arbitrary here. We're just making up some numbers here. So if you say, hey, I'm going to go give you 10 kilograms of food, we'll increase your weight by 1 kilogram, by 10% of that, right? And and it's different for every animal, but again, that's probably okay. You know what? That's fine. Let's do that. So we'll have food waste factor, a percentage of how much weight an animal gains per amount of food they eat by 1 minus the waste factor. Okay, so if you tell me, hey, this koala has a waste factor of like 99%, so they eat eucalyptus leaves, and for every 100 kilograms of eucalyptus leaves they eat, they gain 1 kilogram of weight, because their waste factor is 99%. If, say, you're like a lion, if your waste factor is less than that. I don't actually know what it is for animals, and it's a little different here, like depending on if they're growing or not, so it's fine. We're just coming up with some silly stuff here. Okay? We'll increase them, and we're just going to let them get like morbidly obese here. So you can just keep on feeding that poor koala over and over, and he's just going to eat it all. We're just going to assume here. Okay, so it's just pretend. Okay, but that way we've got an attribute here that way you can go and change. And let's also include a set waste factor method, so it can be changed. How about that? Because as they're at different stages of their life, we should be able to change their food waste factor. Right, that would make sense to be changed in the method. Ensure the argument is between 0 and 1, right? Because that way it's a valid percentage. Because, right, if you say, hey, your waste factor is 10, you can't. It doesn't work like that. It can be 10%, right? So make sure it's between 0 and 1. All right, that part makes sense. What we're going to try and tackle here, building out our little animal class. Go ahead and save that. So just a little bit of fun practice with our class here, and then we'll pick up some new material next session. So on Thursday, we'll look at the next topic here. Oh, I gotta rename it here. This is classes. Classes, okay? And we should be in pretty good shape. Now, I think I remember to post the quiz. Did I remember to post the quiz? I think I remember to post the quiz for you guys. Yep, so chapters 11 and 15. Don't forget that's coming up due Thursday, 11:59 p.m. So one per week. I'll have a quiz over the content that we talked about that week here. It's just 10 questions. It goes pretty quick. And it's all out of the book. Open book, open notes, open internet. But this is your incentive to go make sure you're reading in the book. You don't need to memorize anything, but know where the topics are. So if you get a question about a certain topic, go look it up. If you don't know off the top of your head, that's okay. All right, folks, I think that's pretty good. We'll flip it over to lab time here. We can end the stream, and then I'll be around to answer questions, and we can go from there, okay? The file I/O questions? Yeah, what about the file I/O, Mr. Pup? For the lab portion, sure. So in the lab, we were working on writing strings. Yep, there's shopping list. So to write a string in a binary file, let's open up our project here. So there was write UTF-8 is what we used when we wrote strings. So for our binary type files here, this binary output file, we did doubles for doubles, and then in here we did write UTF-8. Will accept a string that you can write. So when you go and read it, you want to read, so in this case we read so many integers, and then we read the UTF message after that. So we have to know specifically how many integers there were to read. Right? That was the number of integers to read. We read that many, and then we were able to read the UTF because we knew that was the format. Right? Our format that we wrote it to was, hey, we're going to write the number of numbers. So I'm going to tell you in my file, hey, there's this many numbers. Then I can go read this many numbers, and then I can read the message. So we do it that exact same way. We read out the first value, and then it knows how many there are. I'll go read that many integers out, and then I'll know the next thing to read is a string. Right, so either then we're going to write them one at a time, or we're just going to keep entering values until we're done. So it's always going to be a string and then quantity, string and then quantity. So for our case, we can just read a UTF string and read an int. And then if there's more to read, we can keep on going. Right, so this sort of loop here, where do we have that? While there is something available, right? Instead of just reading a double, we could read the UTF, and then we could read the integer. And then if there's more to read, keep on going, because I know it's always a string and an int, a string and an int, a string, because that's the format of my file. As many items as you added to your shopping list will have there. Does that make sense? Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's a good question. Good questions. Yeah, it's a little weird because the labs go the entire week, but I don't want to have them be due within 2 days or anything like that. So I think getting the entire week for the lab makes more sense just for you planning wise. So some of the labs might be, overlapping topics, but I think that should be fine. All right, so go ahead and I'll call the stream an end, and we'll go from there, folks. You take care, and if I don't hear from you, I'll see you on Thursday.